All right. Do I sound okay?
You sound okay.
You sound different.
Okay. What about now?
It's exactly the same. It sounds like you're talking into
Hold on.
an Apple mic in the bathroom with the door closed.
Ew. Well,
Are you in the
pretty
bathroom?
close.
Are you in the bathroom alone?
I'm
with
not.
the door
I'm in my
closed?
bedroom. Let's see. Let me try something. All right. What about now?
Say something.
What about now?
Hello and welcome to the MoxStars podcast. I am one of your hosts, Evan Kunai, and I'm here with my two great friends. I'm in person with one of them, Jordan Garcia.
Hello. I'm a little sick today.
And across the way, we got Christopher Ritter.
Hey, what's up? Across space and time.
What's up, dude? It's sad we can't have you here today, but I'm risking it all by staying in the same room with Jordan.
Yeah, Evan is cursed in being my roommate, where Chris is not and has plans to go to Vegas very shortly. So,
And I'm just hoping and praying that I can continue to work throughout the weekend.
yes. I'm wearing a mask right now.
But that's not the reason why you're here. You are here to listen to this episode, and today we have a few spicy topics and one very important subject that we feel is almost necessary to cover because it goes into it talks about the spirit of the game, and that is the cEDH player's guide to having fun. That is what we're going to be talking about today, and sort of hopefully constructing just a few bullet points, putting a few bullet points together so that we can construct this guide that players can refer to in the future when they're deck building and thinking about creative ways to build and all that, good gravy stuff.
And also just like sucks to be sweaty.
Yeah, it does. It sucks to feel like there's no creativity involved in the whole deck building process.
Yeah, I mean, Evan and I like to, tournament grind stuff too. Like, Evan always brings the creative stuff, but I catch myself net decking and meta focusing and all that stuff because I like to, be competitive. But more often than not, we're always finding fun little tidbits to add in our decks. We can't stop ourselves from having spicy little tech and everything like that, or having weird commanders that we just find ways to make work. That's always been our bread and butter.
Totally. And before we get into that, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so by, one, joining our Discord community, which is popping off.
100%.
Yeah, the community is great. They're growing. We're talking about the spoilers that are happening for Commander Masters at the moment. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications.
Don't forget to rate us on all your podcast platforms.
Yep, and you can find us on all major podcasting platforms. Listen to the show. The rating the show helps towards the algorithm and helping new people find us. So now that that's been said, do we have any pregame actions today?
Oh,
boys?
hell yeah. You kind of spoiled it a little bit. We are going to discuss some of the spicy Commander Master spoilers we've been seeing. Holy crap. I was excited for the set before anything came out, and I was absolutely right to be. I would like to first say that I called my shot a long time ago, and that we were getting the free cycle of interaction spells. And it's coming back, baby. I cannot wait to get a better foil Fierce Guardianship in Japanese. It's going to be lit.
Have they spoiled the two premier ones, Fierce Guardianship or Deflecting Swat yet?
Not yet, no. We've gotten all the other ones, though. And the art's looking great. I got to say, across the board, I really love what they're doing with the art. They're with a selection of the legendary creatures. They've chosen to do this really cool style where they did the Savala's treatment we did a while back. I forget where that came out in.
Yeah, it's like a silhouette land or portrait type.
Yeah, with like a bright pop color background.
Yeah, they did that with a Secret Lair with the Protean Hulk and Ilharg the Razeboar. That initial.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
A little bit. The Protean Hulk isn't I feel like this new treatment is more of a classic profile almost.
Yeah.
Whereas, the Protean Hulk is kind of a full body thing.
Right. I think that is the right terminology for describing how the cards are laid out. They are profiles of these these legendary creatures that have had so much impact on the game.
Yeah, they're almost like subject paintings or photos, like just one singular like close up. Like I guess I love the Urza. Holy shit, the Urza with the hot pink background, dude. I can't imagine that thing in foil. It looks so good. They're doing a bunch of them.
If they're your commander or if they're a key card in your deck, like that is definitely the hot treatment.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Yep, some of them look really great, and I think that some cards actually get better with the treatment, like Kaikar. Like the Kaikar art with the portrait is
Bro, I didn't even
beautiful.
see the Kaikar. What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's like a deck that we've been talking about, like
totally actually
the last couple of weeks, where it's like, is it possible for this to like be competitive or just be a fun deck? And if you had that as your commander, like this profile artwork, I would just be like, oh my god, dude, you really went all out with that full treatment.
You're into it. Did you guys see that Morophon one? That I thought that was sweet,
it's
bro.
so goofy.
it is, but like
it looks great.
I really just love the art style, and that's not even the only like treatment. Like they're doing a bunch of different things. We're seeing Richard King Ferguson come back around again. What was the? He has
a couple sick cards.
He has a couple like actually really good cards.
The Grand Abolisher is beautiful, and then he's also doing Pure Steel Paladin. So there's like an equipment subtype here with Hammer Nazan and all this stuff going on. So I'm excited to see what kind of commanders or what cards we get with profiles that actually support that whole like equipment strategy 100%. That they're going for. Like they have Godo. I was surprised like we didn't see Godo with a profile, because that would have been a sick. Or maybe it's
is
still
that supposed to be in the set and just not spoiled? Or
that's a good question. Godo is in the set for sure.
Yeah.
TBD on the alternate art. Wow, I just saw the Kaikar. That is sick.
It's beautiful.
So I guess instead of just like, let's go like Chris. What are you hot on right now? What's some of the ones you're excited about?
You know what? I love that Mikaeus the Unhallowed.
Yes.
I feel like the OG art, as well as I think there's like a Judge Foil promo or something. It's okay. It's pretty cool. It's like a zombie cleric. It represents that well. It's just not like super sweet. And like, so I'm right now hot on Mikaeus plus Walking Ballista as a Hulk pile.
Yep.
And so I want that Mikaeus to be hot.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah, I really think the
win conditions gotta have them foil.
Yep. And I think we're going to get Walking Ballista reprinted in this set too. That'd
be great.
I think more than anything, what I've seen from this set is they're actually including 2-card combos in the set itself. I think they want these.
I mean, it's Commander Masters.
I appreciate that they are showing like clear focus towards like our format for like one of the few times ever. Like for example, like this art style, right? We were talking about with all these legendaries, these awesome profile shots, like. These are only really good if like maybe they're your commander, your deck is really focused around it, and like you can have a full build around like with these kind of commanders.
And back to the
flexed all the way out.
Yeah, back to the Mikaeus. I actually Ritter, it's such a good card to bring up because, like you said, the original artwork feels like it's so far away, and you have to like really squint in to like see what the artwork is truly depicting. And this profile actually gives you all the detail you could ever ask for, and it makes the cards like a lot of these cards don't have a lot of impact when they hit the battlefield, but now I feel like they have an even greater impact when you play this Mikaeus in particular.
I'm really excited to see this in foil. In my head, I just imagine these single color backgrounds just like really popping and like pulling the art out.
Yeah, the Protean Hulk and the Ilharg that they did with the like really bright poppy background on them, they glossed them. They didn't foil them. They glossed them and then foiled the image. Nice. So it'd be really cool if they foiled like the image of Urza and then glossed the background. We'll see if that's kind of what they do. They've done it before.
I mean, they have been getting into like more distinct foiling treatments lately. So.
Totally. Like they did the raised ink foil for Phyrexia All-Be-One. So it's not beyond their power to do a glossy cover on the card.
For sure. Evan, what are you excited for? I have one card that I'm guessing you're going to say.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the artwork, honestly.
Also, the much needed reprint at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a card that I spec'd on at launch. When War of the Spark first dropped, I got a ton of these for $8 a piece, and I've been sitting on them ever since. It's Finale of Devastation.
I have never
what's
owned.
Better than one dinosaur in your art? It's 3 dinosaurs.
Yes,
in your art.
Oh, dude, and it's such a good art.
Yeah, I think it kind of continues that whole style where it's very poppy, and the green background is really going to pop and stand out in foil. So I'm excited to so I have 5 or 6 Finale of Devastations right now in my possession. So I'm going to trade in a few, build up a little store credit with Card Kingdom, and hopefully get one of these borderless foils. But I have to keep my hands on my pre-release foil. That one's a gem. So I'm excited for that. And there's a lot of cards that I think have needed reprints for a long time that are now here, and some cards that are getting reprinted into the dirt. Like Toxic Deluge was just spoiled.
That's Smothering Tithe. Yeah, we're just getting like tons of reprints on a few of these banger cards, which like
you know, I have no problem with that. Toxic Deluge, it's a must include in black.
Yes, I totally agree. There's some cards like they just don't need to be as expensive as they are, and mostly because they haven't gotten a reprint in a long time. Yeah, let's just run down a few of like we talked about like a lot of the great arts and stuff like that, and there are so many more. By the way, I had no idea this existed. Stormkiln artist borderless art. It is freaking awesome, dude.
Yep.
But let's go through some of like the big bang value here that we're getting some reprints on. Spoiled pretty close to the set getting announced. We have Jeweled Lotus getting reprinted, which is very, very exciting.
Feels like a card that nobody's talking about right now.
Literally. Not only that, but there are 2 borderless foil variants. I just noticed this. There's 2 different backgrounds for these.
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't know what that means, but I am interested to find out, and I definitely want to buy at least one.
Again, I am fully on board with bringing the price of this stuff down by reprinting all these like rocks and stuff into the ground.
Yeah, when did Jeweled Lotus come out? Commander Legends? Was that 2 years ago?
It's 2020.
Holy crap! That was 3 years ago. So 3 years ago they printed a Commander staple and never talked about it again for 3 straight years.
I think that's kind of the cycle we're going to be looking at moving forward. Is like every 3 years.
I mean, what's the timeline on the Commander, the free cycle?
It's actually even a little longer than that.
No, it's the same time.
Same time?
Yep. It was, it was a little bit before, right? So the Commander 2020 is when those dropped with the Ikoria set. So.
Oh, yeah, it was a little bit after. Okay.
Yeah. So those dropped in early 2020. And then if you remember right, or if I'm remembering right, this is right when I moved into that apartment and, and we had you, Jordan, and Rusty over, and we drafted that Commander Legends box.
That's right.
Yep.
Did not pull any Jeweled Lotuses.
No Jeweled Lotuses.
Okay, so yeah, Jeweled Lotus. I'm definitely going to buy as many foil borderlesses as possible. Hopefully they're not too freaking expensive, because the original is $1,000, or at least was back in the day.
Yeah, the original borderless foil. I think it still is right up there.
Here's another exciting reprint. It's the Great Henge. That is getting reprinted, and we're getting an etched foil variant as well. That is super cool because we got the box topper in the Lord of the Rings, but that's just not going to be a meaningful reprint at all. That's not going to drop the price whatsoever.
A box topper is a box topper.
Exactly, and this is a much needed reprint.
A Glittering Caves, which is the Gemstone Caverns box topper in a pack.
Love to hear it.
So it happens.
Good job,
it can happen.
Good job.
Yeah, congrats, dude.
That's sick. So I'm hyped about that because we talk about green being the worst color all the time, but this is still an amazing powerhouse of a card. And I would say that, as well as Finale of Devastation, are probably 2 of the best green cards in existence right now. So great that both of them are getting reprinted because they're both very expensive.
Yeah, like to touch on the like meaningful reprints. Go ahead, Ritter.
Sorry, I was just going to say, speaking of green cards that are like super good and super expensive, Doubling Season.
Yeah, another reprint. Yeah, it was closing in on being $100 for a single one. Yeah.
See, I don't even know the prices of green cards because I don't even look at them.
Yep, I looked last week and it was $90 for one.
Oh my
and I
God.
said, no.
That's crazy, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so happy it's getting reprinted.
So meaningful reprints, just speaking on that for a second, we're now seeing Grand Abolisher get reprinted, and for a long time we hadn't seen a reprint, but then we saw it drop in that secret lair, and I feel a little duped. I think that Wizards of the Coast has definitely timed their release schedule accordingly.
They know what they're doing, dude. It's happened more than once.
Totally, they know what they're doing. But like the secret lair reprints are not considered to be meaningful reprints, just as by definition. So now we're seeing
they're also distinct artworks in this case.
Yeah.
True.
Yep. And now we get this Grand Abolisher reprint here. Hopefully that floods the market a little bit. So like right now the secret lair version is about $32. I don't expect it to be $32 anymore after this reprint, but hopefully the base layer, like the base variant of Grand Abolisher, can sit around 10 or less.
Yeah, affordable. Yeah, I mean, like, especially when there's a valued card with one printing a long time ago that everybody wants, and there's a foil variant, that shit is expensive.
Yep.
That was like a $300, is currently like a $300 card for that Grand Abolisher, right?
Yeah, the
OG foil.
yeah, it's something. It's like 100. It's like a little less than 200.
Okay, yeah, it's super expensive. Like,
Yeah.
so being able to scoop up one of these
Because
when
it's
it
from
comes-
like M10, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah, huge reprint. Going down here, obviously we got to talk about it. The freaking demonic tutor, baby. We did have a reprint not that long ago, but we did not have this freaking cool of an art. The alternate art, I highly suggest you guys who are listening to go look this up right now. Top 5 art. I'm calling it.
Yep, it's top 5 for me too.
Top 5. Oh god.
Yeah, and,
It's so good.
yeah, it's great. And Demonic Tutor, too, is a card that the art usually doesn't miss. It usually has a pretty hot artwork. So
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. There's a lot of good demonic tutor artwork. So to like compete with those and then to go past that, and for me to become like potentially like top 5 of all time artwork, it has to be really dang
This is
good.
tough. There's a lot of cards in the running for like great artworks, and like Demonic Tutor has 2 of the greatest artworks ever made. The Japanese Strixhaven spell book, or
Mystical
whatever.
Archive.
Yeah, the Mystical Archive of Demonic Tutor is
Crazy, bro.
Yeah, the foil of that is one of the most beautiful cards you'll ever see in your life.
Yes.
And now to see this and be like, wow, there's something that can compete with that.
And I could probably afford this one.
Yeah, and you can finally afford it. I think that was the last reprint for Demonic Tutor was the Mystical Archives. So, and surprisingly, those were pretty meaningful. There were a lot of cards like they were just flooded with those. So, which is great. I want to see more of that.
I just want to call this out real quick because we don't really ever get to appreciate the flavor text on cards anymore these days. I just want to read this out for the Demonic Tutor. Is the knowledge really forbidden because it is dangerous to you, or perhaps because it is dangerous to those who seek to control you?
Ooh.
Delicious.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean,
so I'll be buying that for freaking sure.
Card we've been specking on hard that finally gets a reprint, Mangara the Diplomat.
Yo.
Yep, and
He actually was expensive.
yeah, it was. I think I paid $20 for my Bordeaux foil.
Yeah, samesies.
So a little bit much, I think, for the card and what it does. We're getting Cyclonic Rift reprint.
Needed.
And clearly,
Okay, that's big.
yeah,
Yep.
it is huge. It is a commander staple.
We talk about it all the time. There's still no answer for Cyclonic Rift. It is pretty much just like the big bad removal spell still, and has been for, I don't know, at least 5 years, if not longer at this point.
Yep.
That's so a card that has that much staying power really does need a reprint because that shit was getting expensive. Another blue card, because it's your boy is a blue player over here. Spellseeker getting a very, very, very meaningful reprint. We get the OG art, which is my favorite art. We're getting an etch treatment, a regular treatment, and I'm gonna buy that shit in foil. It's gonna be sick.
The borderless is.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And we get a
also
new art as well in
beautiful.
borderless. Very nice. I actually can't decide which one I like more. Maybe I'll just buy one of each.
I like the borderless.
It's pretty cool. Ooh,
Also,
all the medallions are getting reprinted. These were like, maybe not cEDH cards, but EDH cards 100%. And
I mean, they show up in some deck lists too.
That's true.
and it's a
Low
bummer.
color
They're
decks.
card all.
yeah, you're totally right. But these were starting to creep out, dude. They just haven't had a reprint in for freaking ever.
I think this is a great rock. Like Jet Medallion's a great rock for Keurig, which is
True.
very
True.
much a competitive deck.
You're right. I forgot about that. And Jet Medallion is expensive. Most of these medallions were very expensive.
Sapphire is crazy expensive.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
So now we're getting this cool, really cool like alternate border I'm seeing for all these artifacts. New border for those, very nice.
Yep. Any other cards that you guys want to point out just right off the top of the dome?
I think we're still going to get some more spoilers as it comes out here. We get a nice little Soul Ring, a cool command tower.
The Immortal Sun,
Yeah.
finally.
Oh, yeah. I want to stop on the Soul Ring. The Soul Ring, the borderless variant, is
Awesome.
pretty nice.
It's really cool, dude.
Yeah, and the flavor text is right on point too. Just like Urza talking about it being a planetarium, and like, what do you mean this is like a diagram? This is like a functional piece of machinery. I don't have the exact flavor text right on me, but
Yeah, no, I probably my favorite Soul Ring art, except for obviously like Masterpiece, but I'm not going to go buy a Masterpiece Soul Ring, so I could definitely see picking up one of those. I think that's all I got for right now. I'm excited to see what else comes out of the set. Obviously, we're going to get a Fierce Guardianship at some point, and I am so hyped to see what that art looks like.
it's F6 season, baby.
F6 season.
Just keep hitting refresh. Or is that F5? Is that F5 or F6?
I don't know. One of those two. Just keep pushing all of the F buttons until your computer does something.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Time to move into our main topic. The cEDH Player's Guide to Having Fun.
This is a big one.
It's a big one. So I think starting off, I think this is just how our pod plays. Like, this is naturally how we got here, natural progression, but it's not how everybody naturally progresses, right? Like, we see the time old story, age old story, EDH pod, casual pod, and then we start, the arms race, we start growing, people start getting more curious about cEDH as you like min-max your decks and stuff, but it's at like an unparalleled rate, right? So there's some feel bads and everything like that. And then there's on the other end of things where you're a cEDH player and you get so focused on net decking and playing meta decks, and you don't really allow yourself to have any fun anymore because you're just trying to win all the time. And then every time anybody comes up with any cool interaction or creative piece, the question is, why would you run that when you could just run Thoracle Demonic Consultation, Or like, why play this commander when you can play this better commander in the same colors?
Right.
For a lot of people, though, like, winning is the ultimate form of fun.
Right, which I get that, but that's not everybody. Like, there are plenty of podcasts and like for cEDH tournament grinders, right? And there are plenty of podcasts for the diehard casuals out there. But that's not. We don't really play either of those that much, honestly. We like to play some high power competitive stuff, but we like to drink beers and have fun with our buds at the same time. So that's kind of what we're talking about, is how to get there, how to have fun playing competitive Magic.
Yeah, I think before we dive too deep into it, we have to understand that, and we do understand this. So while you're listening to this, don't think this is just a blanket cover-all for every player that exists in the world. This is, this is our perspective on this and how we've grown as players. And so if this helps you in any way to like find more enjoyment out of Magic, to like find your passion in Magic, hopefully this inspires you in some way to like build decks that you find are more fun, or strategies that more or better represent who you are as a player. And I think that's ultimately what we're going for here, is we are passionate about this game, and we're passionate about most aspects of what we do in life. Like, we're all food industry folk, and like our passion comes through expression. And I think that when you make a deck that with the strategy that you would like to represent, it's like when it really comes together and it flourishes, man, nothing.
That is pure satisfaction.
Yeah, nothing says expression quite like that. Like, you put your heart and soul into it, and now your strategy is expressing itself. And when it wins the game, man.
But more.
Oh, man.
Totally. But more than that, I think that's actually like what Magic is. To me, that's like where Magic thrives as a card game, as a game, is like you get to fully put your own identity into your deck and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a deck building process.
Right. And so,
especially in this format, more than any other format.
Very true.
Like that's what this format is about.
Yeah, 100%. And, as you go higher up the ranks and try and play more competitively, you'll trim some of the fat, and sometimes you find yourself losing interest in what you're playing because you've cut too much of the fun stuff. So we're trying to find that middle ground here. So let's get into it. When we're approaching our decks, conceptually, or playing our play styles and everything like that, I think it's important to, obviously you'll figure out what your play style is, what your colors are, what you like to do. But I think it's really important to start with like a strategy or a combo in mind, like build around either your commander or a mechanic, a win condition. You need to have something that pushes your deck forward. That way you can have cards that synergize with it. And that's where the build around comes from, right? It's not putting dead cards in that only synergize with a commander or whatever mechanic you're trying to like tutor out and pull off. But it's more like, this is what I'm doing. I'm tunneling this towards a win, but it's not demonic tutor for Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, right? We're trying to, whatever that other aspect is, that flavor aspect for us, that's where like I think synergy really thrives, is like now all of a sudden your interaction is synergizing with whatever you're doing, right? And it's just like that little machine that you start building is, one, super fun, and two, I think a lot of times can run away with a game a lot more than, these super lean decks that are only trying to like Rog Silas, turn to win.
Yeah, find your window and take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you know where to stick your finger, and everyone at the table knows where to do that. So it's not necessarily, playing a meta deck.
Right,
isn't necessarily going to give you an advantage.
Right,
because everyone knows how to defend against it.
100%. Everybody has interaction with in their hand, right? We all freaking
We mulligan
for it, right? But if you're not putting, the win condition on the stack on turn 2, and instead you're developing this fun fairy board state that happens to make a killing machine on turn 4, like you're probably going to get there a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think more often than not, you're more successful doing that than you are like hyper focusing these known strategies. I think you can lose a lot of focus by reading collective thoughts on like Reddit or through like EDH Rec and stuff like that, where
holy God, please stop looking at EDH Rec.
As soon as a card comes out, or as soon as a new card with a new line of text comes out, immediately the entire community will go, well, this is a 2-card combo with this card. And so when you play that card, everybody has read that, and everybody knows that 1 + 1 = 2. So people are going to know when to interact with it, and they're going to they're going to think tank the whole thing and like really find ways to stop you if that's what you want to do, if that's like the line you're trying to walk. But if you can create a strategy that starts low, I think this for me as a player, and we all start in different spots. Like your journey to your preferred strategy is going to start somewhere. It's not going to start in the same spot for everybody, but mine started really low. Like I started with strategies that weren't refined, and then I'd sort of just like cut things away and add cards that I thought were more fun. So like in Xeris, one of my favorite cards is Psychic Corrosion. So the whole strategy is sort of built around that, and it's like I need to draw cards because when I draw cards, it mills people, and so on and so forth.
Your commander naturally wants to draw cards, and you start leveraging that, and then you build the synergies from there.
And I like snakes. So easy
pick.
It
all works.
Yep. But when it comes down to like Naya and playing Shalai and Halar, it was actually going into trying to build into a competitive mentality that like led me to find my truest expression, like how to build decks that I like to play and I enjoy. I get fulfillment out of them. And Zakama really brought it home. Like I remember first building that deck and it was just like value Naya stuff, like good stuff. And then I just started seeing all these like enchantment synergies, and Jordan had been playing with a Layla at the time that I built the first round of the deck, and he played a Sarah Sanctum against us. And I was just like, whoa, okay, that's a good card, right?
Sarah Sanctum's really cool.
Well, Zakama cares about land. So if that land can tap for 5 mana, like, great, I can get this a combo that much easier, that much sooner. So I started looking at enchantment strategies and found that a lot of the cards that I really enjoyed, like Sylvan Library, which I hate now, but were enchantments. So I started building into that realm. And then with Modern Horizons 2, Sanctum Weaver came out. And all of a sudden, I just got this huge boost to my strategy. And eventually I played Zakama to what I believed was the highest point it could go. And then Shalai and Halar came out, and it was changing out a few cards, but my strategies could still exist and still flourish within that deck. It just had A plus B, which was Shalai and Halar and the Red Terror, and I win the game.
That's a really cool thing is like not all of the time it's like you have to build around the commander and stuff like that to make it, the full thing. Sometimes you just get there like how by any means you've just developed your deck, the cards you want to see, the systems, the machine, I call it, and you can plug and play in the commander, swap out 5 cards, and it might actually work better sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when new cards get printed. That's super exciting for me. Like when you've like synergized a deck fully, and then you see something that's like, I actually like, this is a new slot in the deck. It has to go in right now. Like that's always very exciting for me. Like,
seeing like Orcish Bowmasters for the first time, I was like, whoa, that's going to go in a lot of decks, and it's going to take, like people are going to find the slot for that like right away.
Yep. One Ring, same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, what about you? Like, what's your approach on that? Like, focusing any strats or combos when you go for Dina? I know you like to play Dina.
Honestly, my starting point for Dina was that I bought a Japanese set boost box of Strixhaven, and I pulled a foil Dina, and I was just like, it was just, I was just intent on building around.
I love that. That's a great answer.
There wasn't necessarily any strategy behind it, and so I went to the despised deck list database and searched for Golgari commanders and like different strategies, and saw a lot of Grist. Saw a lot of, probably for rolls. The Star Striped is the closest thing, all that sort of, you're going to play a Reanimator strategy in Golgari decks, or you're going to play Protean Hole combos, right? So I went towards Protean Hulk combos because it just seemed more fun, I think, because that's what we're talking about, how to have fun still, right, while still trying to win.
Mhm.
Yep.
And Protean Hulk, just the convoluted lines and the weird cards that you got to play that you don't find in other decks is kind of what attracted me to it.
Yeah, and you had some new cards come out, like Activated Sleeper, which like totally took the strategy to like made it more fun for you. I remember how hyped you were on
Not only more fun, but also significantly stronger.
Yeah.
Because that is such a good card in Hulk piles.
Because it went from, with Protean Hulk, you would have to go for one pile, basically, that would win. And it would be a little fragile. Now with Activated Sleeper, you could go for, essentially, Dose into the Fallen Leaf or something much better than that at 3 CMC, and then, get a second pile out of it, which gave you some resiliency, some reach, and also just added some more antics to it, right? More things, game actions to have fun with.
Add more antics to your deck is what we're saying.
Yeah. Like little tricks, like things that work for you, maybe not for everybody else. And I know that watching and commentating on this last tournament, the Surfside Invitational, was a great opportunity to watch a lot of players and how they, the champion, Atlas, has one card that he swears by that everyone tells him to take out of his deck, and it's Cloud Shift. And you're just like, why? Why
Bro,
are you playing that?
The week going into that tournament, like leading into it, Atlas posted on our Discord, hey, here's the deck. I'm getting ready for a bunch of tournaments coming up. Let me know what you think. And I was like, bro, these are like 5 cards I think you should cut immediately. Cut to us spectating him in like the top 3 games leading into the finals to him winning the finals. And I saw every single one of those cards I told him to cut come into play and help him win the game.
Yeah, Cloud Shift, he runs this like crazy Gilded Drake package where it's like he can reanimate and steal Gilded Drake back and stuff like that. So Cloud Shift is the only card of its type that says exile the creature and then return to the battlefield under your control. So he can take control of somebody else's thing and then abuse the ETB.
Steal a dockside and flick that and stuff like that. So you can do some really cool stuff that way.
I can't read his mind, but gotta assume that like things like that, these lines that he has that are, come out of maybe suboptimal choices for the 99, like being able to play those to his advantage, that is probably a good deal of fun to him in these tournaments.
Oh yeah,
totally.
I think it's a ton of fun, but I also think it's like they're silver bullets, they're secret weapons. Like people don't know how to handle it. People undervalue them. Or like
secret tech is huge. You don't know how to value it.
Exactly.
Like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like we all know to counter like the underworld breach or whatever, the ad nauseum, but it's just like the Vendilion click goes through no problem, right?
Yeah, no one sees
exactly.
it.
So let's go back to like commenting on the tournament. What we saw again and again was the politics of the table. Like, players would play a card and everyone at the table would agree that they needed to respond to this.
100%. And I thought that's
but if you have secret tech, it just goes through. And then, you would see the win go through this secret tech that everyone just overlooked.
That's why I think it's so hard to it's so unrealistic to like have these hard and fast like rules set in stone. Like you got to play these cards because these are the best cards. And if you're not playing those, you're not playing cEDH because there's just too much politics at every table. Like weird decks win cEDH games all of the time.
Yep.
So you can't tell me that like, yeah, sure, we can net deck and we can probably up our average, up our win rate by playing Kenrith and Najila and stuff like that, right? But like all of the time, people undervalue these cards because they don't see them and they don't respect them.
Yeah, this comes down to,
and that's probably.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as a builder, as you're building these decks, it's the mentality that you bring into like building it. How do you want yourself to be? Like, how do you view yourself? And a lot of the time, it's like almost like I'm choosing a suboptimal commander, like Shaline Halara. I could play Rocco, and I know that Rocco is like the ideal Naya commander. But like I can play Shaline Halar and see a lot of the things that I like happen and know that like I'm playing suboptimally and sort of an underdog mentality.
Totally. And also like that's what a great way to like flip over your commander at a cEDH tournament and be completely disregarded, like fly under the radar. You flip it over and like everybody's like, all right, I am not worried about you. That's exactly where I want to be, right? Like when you flip over
it gives you an advantage from turn 0 because like they don't know how to mulligan into what you're going to do.
Politics from the beginning, before you even start, when you in the deck building process, there's politics in this format, and I think that's what's super cool about it. That's what we're talking about today. One thing I want to talk about, kind of as a big concept for this, is we talk about it all the time in a lot of like creative outlets in life. Is just restrictions build creativity, right, or lead to creativity. If you put restrictions on yourself, you find creative outlets. That is usually how I can narrow myself down to like committing to something and coming up with something creative, is that I have some limitations somewhere. So picking a commander, like, you guys had a few examples. Like I like Paco and Halden, right? That's a deck that wants extremely few creatures in it, right? Because Paco can't do anything with creatures. So I built a deck that only plays 2 creatures. Initially, it was Leveler and Thassa's Oracle, so I could Divergent Transformations into it. That alone is a huge deck building restriction, right? Like I have to find a lot of cards to fill out that 98 that are not creatures. That typically I would put creatures in there. But
yeah,
because
what's the color entity there?
that is it's a Teamer.
Teamer. So you have, I don't know, there's probably 20 slots that might be like just like
you can't
automatic slots in those colors.
Yeah, like anybody playing Teamer net deck CEDH, you'd like Dockside, all your dorks and stuff like that. It was like Spellseeker, Displacerkin. You can't play any of those cards. So you got to go find different cards that are not those. You start looking into Planeswalkers and all these cool like different interactive pieces that nobody would ever play, but you have the slots now. And all of a sudden, nobody expects a bribery coming out and stealing a Hullbreaker Horror and shit like that. Like some of these cards just go crazy.
Yeah. No, well, you said Displacer Kitten, but I know that that's one of your 2 creatures now.
Yeah. So, a little side note, fun update to that deck was Displacerkin getting, with the printing of the new Itali, I can now take out 2 very bad creatures and put in 2 very cool creatures.
Yeah, and I think that expresses who you are as a player even better than it did before.
Yeah.
It's like Leveler and Thassa's Oracle is just like this clear-cut, cold-hearted way to win.
Necessary evil to have a win condition, essentially. But yeah, now it's actually like super fun and rewarding.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. And like, for example, like I love playing Grixis, right? So it's like, all right, we're playing Kess, we're playing, Rogsai like we talked about before. We've seen it 1,000 times. But like, I really like Angelo. I think Angelo has tons of cEDH potential because twinning a spell essentially makes it uncounterable in a cEDH table.
Right.
And if you're going down that path too, in your Hello deck, I see so much tech that are just like cards that I'm constantly asking you, like, hey, can I read that? Because I've just never seen it before.
Yes, dude.
I have no knowledge of this.
100%. And like that speaks to more like, politics in the deck building process, because like you go to that table, there's so much mental overload and information at a 4-player game, especially in cEDH where it's just grinding and so much going on. You're not going to remember every card you've never seen and had to read right there. Like, you're like, let me read that real quick. Okay, cool. And move on and stuff like that. It's just not going to have that same impact where like you've lost to a card a bunch of times. And so you already respect it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think that unique tech that comes through it, like brings the, like everyone has their guard up and it actually takes their guard down to like sit there. If they have to read it because they don't know what it does, their guard is down, like flat out. So, and like for a card for me is Cindervines, where like everyone reads it and they're like, oh yeah, I remember when this came out.
You
and then
3 mana, 2 mana?
Yeah, green and a red for an enchantment, which is, spoiler, I love enchantments. So an enchantment that comes down that whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to them. It's probably the most common type of spell. People don't like playing creatures in cEDH so much. So deals 1 damage to them. It's a red source that deals damage. It combos with Red Terror. Beautiful.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it.
That talks about like, the synergies we were talking about. Like you focus it and then you find the things that just happen to go along with it that actually have huge impacts in games.
Every time I've cast it,
awesome.
Yeah, every time I've cast it, people have been like, "What's that do again?"
Yeah,
and then there's like, "Yeah, it's fine, whatever."
Right. If you're net decking, it will make no sense to put it in there.
Right.
But in that deck, it makes so much sense, and actually, just that effect is really good.
Yep. When it comes together and you finally see it on the battlefield, you're like, "Wow, I've been hit 10 times by that freaking Cindervines." My life total's starting to get a little low.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd go far enough to say like, you put it in there because it synergizes in a deck, and then you see how good it is, and you're like, I could put that in other decks where it doesn't necessarily synergize as well as this deck because it is actually just a better effect than
it's just a good card, and it has removal stapled to it. So that's another benefit to the whole thing. I mean, I think that one of my new spicy pieces of tech, it's not Spiteful Banditry, which I think is a great card and it's a great enchantment. I'm actually going to play Seal of Fire instead in Shalai Halar because it's a red source of damage. It's a 1-mana enchantment that just allows me to sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to any target. So it triggers the Red Terror, gets me that, and then also kills an opposition agent if I'm going for tutoring for, like my win condition. So. Right. Great little spicy piece of tech that is unique to pretty much my list alone. I don't think anybody's playing it. So,
yeah, I think we're firmly in the subject of secret tech right now. Ritter, do you have any like secret spicy tech that you like in your cEDH deck?
Not like particular cards, but I did recently look into Croxa. I think the list is called Seared Sausages.
Huge fan already. Let's go.
Yeah, and I want to play Croxa. Like I played Croxa in Smallpox briefly in Modern, also in Standard, a beast of a card. Just not really. I don't see it so much in EDH or especially cEDH lists. So with the opportunity to play the card as your commander, as a World Gorger combo deck. Right. Is super attractive to me. But, the standard list, and I pulled it up and probably at this point swapped out like 25 cards just to, nice. Personalize it and make it play maybe not as optimally in general for any pilot, but for me, a better deck because it now plays the way I would like to play.
Totally. And there's something to speak about that too. It's just like you can rip a deck and like do it terrible with it, even if it's a good deck, because you didn't build it and it's just not how you like to play.
Yeah, all these Teom lists I see out there in the wild that are like winning tournaments. I look at the list and I just go, who are you and how did you win these games?
Right.
It's like there's just different people.
It's like 50 different cards than your Teom list
right.
a few years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, like that totally speaks to like, and like to anybody out there who's like maybe like you're kind of bored or you're looking for like a new deck, or maybe you've been doing what I was doing and just like grinding too much and like cutting all the fun stuff from your deck. It's like take a step back, find that like creative restriction for yourself. Like Chris, you really liked Smallpox, so now you found a way to turn that into a competitive EDH version, right? You picked a commander and you're in a 2-color commander deck that is a unique, different kind of strategy. So you're gonna have tons of cards that people are not used to seeing, I'm guessing, in that deck.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like one of those things too, by pursuing a commander that has something different to it, that's not just like some sort of value engine or some sort of combo piece plus value engine in the command zone, even though it is kind of that, it brings up other tech. Like it's just, totally. There's cards that are must includes in your standard list because they're just the boring cards that you go to in those colors. Like how much of Kenrith do you think is solved out of those 99 cards?
Almost none of them, right? Or maybe a lot of them, like Dockside, is always going to be there. And there's a few loops that you can just like for sure say there, but I feel like there's still a lot of slots available depending on how you want to play the game.
There are a lot of slots available for sure. I mean, that is just the nature of the beast with 5-color, but I think at the same time, like there's 60 plus cards that are just going to be in every single 5-color deck on the cEDH DDB.
Yeah, and by a lot I mean more than 5. That's like I think when you talk about like we've floated the concept of like the top 300, right? If you want to play in cEDH, it's not that you have to play by the rule, play by that book the entire time, but having 60% of your deck contain cards from the top 300 is probably going to lead to more success.
Yeah, I mean, better cards make better decks.
Yeah,
like Dockside should be in every deck almost because it's kind of just that good, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like, not only are you bringing like a different commander to the table and maybe different like a color to the table, and is not like super common at cEDH pods. We like as many colors as possible typically, but you're also bringing a new mechanic to the table. Like a lot of people do not know how to deal with the discard strategy. Especially in cEDH. So like that is a whole different like axis that you're playing on in the political side of things too, that I think you can really warp to your favor as well. And also I think is just super fun at the same time. Like that is like the perfect crossroads between like competitive and strong and fun. You're building a unique deck with tons of unique cards. You're not going to be able to just like take 5 cards out of your other cEDH deck and throw that together.
Yeah, and at least consistently see those cards like have an effect on the overall strategy.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like some weird ass cards are going to be like your favorite things to tutor up in that deck.
Yep.
And that's, for me, that's like the bread and butter. Like that is where we have the most fun. I think we have a great time at our tables because we're all tunneling this, right? We're all trying to win, but we're also always having a good time. We're always surprising each other with new cards, new strategies, new decks, new commanders.
I mean, it feels good to lose to fun tech, right?
Yeah, and like it feels good to win with your weird ass deck too.
Yeah.
It feels really bad to lose to Yoshi Kedis because it happens so fast.
When you think your deck is better, you just die in turn 4.
You know what? I should have just talked about that deck because
100%.
that deck started with me looking at Slicer and being like, "Oh, that's a fun idea. That's a really fun idea. Make this game go super super fast. Just pressure everyone's life total."
Playing on a completely different axis again.
Yeah. And just, being like, oh, opening up in my brain, like, oh, that's a way you can do this at this level and have success. But then looking at other ways to do that, like Yoshimaru, it's a dog. Like that's why I'm playing the card. Like
he ain't just any dog though.
It's a very special dog, a very handsome and charismatic dog.
You'd say a 1-mana dog and a 2-mana lizard.
Yeah, exactly. It's a dog and a lizard. It's stupid. It's goofy. I call the list dog toys. And it plays all those powerful cards. Like, it plays Professional Facebreaker, it plays Dockside, it plays Ragavan, it plays those things, but it pressures in a way that is slightly different from Slicer, and it does it on an axis that, like, being, I think for me, the goofy axis of it, like, is what makes that deck fun for me.
Totally.
But it's also, like, a deck that I don't mind playing against some of your other like super high powered decks.
And you've swept us with that
I think
deck.
I still have a chance right here.
Oh, 100%. You have swept us multiple times with that deck.
Yeah, it's surprising how quick it goes, and I think that's kind of lends to its like goofiness because, you can play cEDH for a long time and never see that deck. But as soon as you sit down across from it and you go, huh, that's cute, or like, hey, that looks like a fun thing. And you take a hand, like you shuffle up and you don't quite know what the deck does across from you. And so you take a hand that's going to flourish on turn 4, turn 5. You have a little bit of interaction.
You're focusing on your own deck because you're not threatened.
Right. But then as soon as it's turn 3 and you've got a 5/5 Yoshi and a Kedis on the board, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh my god, I'm already at 22? Like, it's kind of crazy where it just happens so quickly, and you're like, I'm not even set up yet.
Yeah, I cut the
feel
turn
like
2
you
commander
mulligan
hand,
towards interaction for Yoshimaru now every time you see it.
Mental misstep is what I mulligan for.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. And our next bullet point here is in building these decks, we're having a ton of fun, but you got to play interaction. We say it all the time. We've had a different podcast completely dedicated to this. You got to play interaction in your deck, especially if you're competing in these levels. We're talking removal as important as fighting on the stack here.
Yep, and we know that blue is notorious for having like the most or the largest amount of like free interaction on the stack. But when you're not in blue, you do have to find other creative ways to interact with it, whether it's through like stacks or your own like, reprieve is now like this new white spell that's just like sort of allowing those players to interact on the stack and control the game or control the tempo.
Sometimes removal is just as good as countering it.
Yes.
But that's a good point. I didn't even think about stacks as another form of interacting like that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people classify stacks as interaction, but
it totally is.
It's static interaction.
Yeah, a lot of times you just don't see the interaction, right? Like the Thali attacks, you don't see the cards they're not casting.
And I think on Arena...
Yeah, exactly, because you're not seeing the things that aren't happening. That's the nature of stacks.
Yeah, but you're interacting a ton.
Yeah, like on Arena, it does a really great job of indicating what is stacksing you out.
Yeah.
Like when I play Rampaging Ferocidons in my historic goofy Menace to Society deck, it's another fun deck that I love to play because when I'm playing against Life Gain and I put Rampaging Ferocidon down, it actually emits this red aura whenever they try to gain life, and it goes wah 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 wah. And I'm like,
no,
yeah, that's like painting a target on it. And if that actually happened in real life, no Deafening Silence would sit on the board. right? If you played one non-creature spell and then all of a sudden the deafening silence in the corner of the playmat went wah 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 wah.
This is
wah,
your
wah.
issue. This is the problem.
This is the problem. Like it would warrant removal more often than it does. But like deafening silence again, another piece of interaction that just like says, I'm going to slow this game down and I don't have to waste resources from my hand to do it.
100%. And yeah, I think this circles back to the whole synergy thing we're talking about, right? Is like there's tons of different kinds of interaction, whether it's on a stack, whether it's removal, whether it's stacks, and you just got to find what fits in your colors and also what fits with your commander and your strategy that you're trying to do. Like, Chris, if you're on the crux of the list, just focusing discard is a very good form of interaction. If I don't have any cards in hand, I can't do shit. So you just tunnel.
Well, it's also a
your
necessity of like you have to look at the colors you're in. It's a necessity of those colors because if you're in black and red, you have excellent remove. You have great direct damage.
Mm-hmm.
You have great creature removal. You have some pretty good planeswalker removal, which is not necessarily relevant in cEDH so much. But besides Feed the Swarm, your enchantment removal is lacking. Besides Abrade and Vandal Blast, your artifact removal is lacking. So you do have to like lean to that discard thing to proactively get rid of those cards before they hit the board because you can't interact on the stack. And you can't interact once they're on the battlefield.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a few, like, obviously there's, like, Tybalt's Trickery and stuff like that, but you cannot rely on those cards. Like, there's so few and far between. Like, you need to build it into your strategy, into the synergies that, you're just going to interact inherently by doing what your deck wants to do.
Yeah, these are cards that they exist, but they sort of break the color pie in how they, like they're old cards like Red Elemental Blast and Pyro Blast, which are just
exactly.
like
they're in the list,
but they're circumstantial. Is the problem.
Yeah, but like that's the thing because like interacting on the stack for me is not. Man, it's suboptimal. Like
it's not always what you want to do.
I would rather stacks it out and prevent it from happening than stop it from happening when it's happening or deal with it when it's on the battlefield,
Right. And I think this is really the interesting thing that like comes in for me that comes into like the deck building aspect is, you're analyzing all the stuff as you're building it. You're looking like very like dynamically at your commander and like the future games you're going to be playing, the texture of the tables that you see a lot of the time. And you're gonna need to figure out like, what is the thing that's causing you issues? I'm trying to have fun while competing. What's stopping me from having fun right now, right? Because I can't do shit. It's like you need to have that in your deck, and it needs to work in your deck for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and part of the fun of playing the game and talking about interaction is solving the puzzle that stands before you.
Right.
So like sequencing everything properly, or maybe just like tutoring for the right card. And sometimes you don't put the right card in your deck, and that's just sort of like living with that decision. And then you come back around to the deck building process. You include those things so that next time you can tutor for it. I think that for me, a lot of the fun is like seeing a board state where I'm hella confused. I'm like, how do I win?
Yeah.
And then you're rolling through and, your tutor, you're going for a fetch land, but at the same time, you're also like looking through your library for like,
what's in this deck again?
Well, yeah. What did I put in here? Because, part of the skill of going to a tournament is knowing exactly what's in your deck.
Famously.
Yeah.
Famous last words.
I think mentality as far in like playing interaction, it's being knowledgeable and educated about like the game, and you have to see reps, like reps on reps on reps on reps on
100%.
reps. When those reps aren't fun, you're not learning a lot.
Yeah.
It's so like building interaction suites into your decks that like more reflect who you are, like Atlas's, Cloud Shift for instance, is when we were playing together, I looked at him across the table and, like this form of politics, where I looked at him, I said, find something that's going to fight on the stack because I have interaction, but I need you to be able to help me. And he goes, okay. And so he flickers his Spellseeker and goes and grabs a Cloud Shift, or he reanimates it and he grabs a Cloud Shift. And I was like, Atlas, what the hell is that going to do?
That's not a counterspell.
Yeah. But it ended up fighting on the stack just as well as something else that he would have tutored for. So
that's secret
but
tech.
it was his way of fighting on the stack.
Exactly. So when you can find that unique little piece, For me, it's Cindervines. For Atlas, it's Cloudshift. For everybody else, they have all their little things. Like Seal of Fire for me right now is a card I'm hot on. An older card that just uniquely interacts with creatures on the board or interacts with faces.
I know we're calling it Secret Tech, but I would like to retroactively call it Secret Sauce.
Heard that.
I'll agree to that. Yeah, secret sauce.
It's the secret sauce. It's what makes our deck a full sandwich.
Yeah, and yes, and to rewind a little bit back to restrictions make for better deck building, or they make for more creative deck building. Like being in the food industry, for me, one experience that helped me grow, and this helps. Magic reflects a lot in my life. And this job I had taken in Alaska was every day or every 2 days we'd have a new group of guests in, like all private guests coming in. And every time a new group would come in, I would get a sheet full of dietary restrictions for everybody going there.
Bingo.
And so as a chef, as someone creating this experience and like crafting this experience for a large group, you want to make everyone feel included or that they're none the wiser. And that's how you actually craft more intricate strategies that people can't see.
Yeah.
Like, if they can see the matrix and they can see exactly what you're doing, you've failed. You've revealed your hand, sort of, in a way. So
instead, you just built a menu that accommodated everybody.
if someone had celiac disease, it didn't matter if it was one person out of the 20 people. The whole menu would be gluten-free, and it would be a challenge to myself to see if anyone else could notice.
Yeah, for the non-gluten-free people to just have a normal meal to them.
Yeah, exactly. So that they don't feel excluded or singled out or anything like that. So if you're just building a deck that has a strategy where it's going to, there was one time I was playing Dwarven Thaumaturgist or whatever, and Jordan was playing Doran the Siege Tower.
Oh, God.
I literally only played it to kill Jordan's
God. Our last bullet point that we're about to get to is mentality, and I have right after it, don't let salt happen. Brace for impact. And
Yeah.
I was fucking salty.
Yep.
That was brutal.
I played it, and then Jordan just looks at his commander and then looks at me, and he goes, that just kills my commander only, right? I was like, yeah, I know. That's exactly why I'm playing it.
That was our budget commander league. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right. So last little bit here, guys, before we wrap it up. I think it's super important to have a good mentality going into like the deck building, especially like just know what you want out of it, right? We clearly know what we like to play, where we're at, right? Like we go to these tournaments, sometimes we bring the meta decks, sometimes we just bring our fun decks, and we see how well we do against those meta decks, right? Sometimes, more often than not, we're just playing with our pod where we like to bring that creative secret sauce, but we still have the interaction, we still have the win conditions, we still push for the dub all the time. So I think it's really important to have that mentality. Like, know where you're at in the game, know where you're, and then I was going to say this earlier. I really hope this is a good episode, not only for you to maybe get some like creative inspiration for deck building moving forward, but maybe also to have some like vernacular and some verbiage to bring to your pod if you or a few other people are maybe scaling up in power level and you're trying to get there a little bit. Maybe you have.
You just want people to say secret sauce?
Yeah, exactly. I want you to say secret sauce, and I want you to, I want people to be able to take that step up, because I know it can be hard, and I know there can be some growing pains a lot when, some people like to min-max more than others, and some people just like to, play 10 lands and drop a 10 drop,
Yeah. When the conversation circles around cards that are helping make your strategy better, I think is like when you go into the thought tank process or a think tank process with your friends, and you're talking about like the secret sauce and what can you do, and you might be talking about cutting a card that is a staple in a lot of strategies, like David was talking about at this last tournament in Idaho, was talking about his Tivit list and how he really loves Ley Line of Anticipation.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. You don't see that a lot.
No, you don't see it a lot. And how he wants to be able to fit it in, because a lot of the time he would like to be in a position where it's land pass.
Mm-hmm.
Land pass. And if he can cast Tivit on somebody's end step or something like that, so he can get 2 triggers back to back,
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like that is the place that he wants to be in. So that's the type of strategist he is. And like now he's found a card that if by chance you have it in your opening hand, you get it on the battlefield for free, helps him win more games.
Sometimes I'll just pay 4 for that shit.
Right? Does that feel suboptimal? If you're in the colors, it's the same cost as a Vidalcan Orrery that has no chance of coming into the battlefield for free.
True.
So, Yeah, I think that like when you're able to have those conversations where it's like, I really like this card and I think it's going to help my strategy. And then if someone says, nah, dude, like that's just a suboptimal card.
Why don't you just play this instead?
The key to having fun and like really sussing out these strategies as a player is going to be reps. Right? Like this is not easy work, right? You can't just put this card in and then expect it to do everything that you're going to want to see it do.
Nor is your fun new deck just going to roll the table every time it shows up.
Right. So when you show up and you play this, you have to be ready to not see that card for the next 16 to 29 games.
Yeah.
There's just that chance that RNG allows that, for it that you do not see that card because it doesn't, it doesn't come to you naturally through card draw, or it isn't what you're tutoring for because it doesn't meet the conditions of this current board state. So, you got to put in the work. You got to see it through, and you really have to like test it out. So when you're thinking about a card, just you got to have a little patience, and give it the room it needs in order to like truly see if it is the thing. But, there are times I've cut cards after not seeing them for so long because I'm seeing different problems that now that card that I haven't seen hasn't influenced my game at all. I would rather stop the thing that's been stopping me and take that fun card out for that thing so I can see other strategies flourish too.
Totally. And to me, that's like, you can only do that when you've built the deck, when you like, that is your deck, you know it inside and out because you've built it, you've known every synergy, you've put it all together and you've seen it 1,000 times. Like that's the most satisfying thing is just like, this isn't working. This is stopping me from having fun. This new thing came out, like all of these things, like twisting and like changing and evolving your deck into like that super personal deck.
Yeah, like Shalayan Halar deals 1 damage whenever a +1/+1 counter goes out onto the board for like on a creature I control. I'm not playing Sixth Sense, even though I think it's a great card. It's 1 mana that whenever my commander deals damage, I draw a card, and it would draw me 3 cards. It's kind of crazy. Or no, it's only target opponent, so it draws me 1 card, right? That seems like pretty efficient card draw off of something, but I have to then change the whole build around, and if I wanted to do that, it would just take time. And if that's something that I really wanted to do, and I wanted to see that, and I wanted to see more card draw, but unfortunately, I don't have that patience, and that's part of the point, right?
Mm-hmm. You guys got anything else? Any other thoughts? I got one thought. I got one note I'd like to wrap us up on.
What's that?
If you are one of the people that likes to comment on anybody posting about cool tech, secret sauce, or new commanders, and your response inherently is, why don't you just play X because it's better? I want to reach through your computer screen and slap you in the face. Shut your mouth.
That's like the thing.
Shut your mouth. Nobody needs to hear your opinion.
Give it a chance. Like, you have to be open, I think, as a player to give every card a chance because, for a long time, when Kyle first showed up with his Joda deck and I saw all of his partner with like stuff, and I was like, this is suboptimal. But then he slapped me across the face with it and won like multiple games in a row. You got to give it a chance. You can't you just got to give everything that opportunity to see it through.
Yeah, and even if it's not the greatest of the great, we're talking about cEDH Player's Guide to Having Fun. This is a game. We like to have fun, and it is all about building into your personality. People relate to these decks, right? So keep your mouth shut if people get some new cool tech that they're excited about, and you just say, play Najila.
Yeah, you are gatekeeping at that point, and you are being a bad friend and a bad competitor, and
you're stifling that creativity, dog.
Yeah, stifling that creativity. I think that's, Jordan, that is the point that I think we all need to make, and is our consensus that this is a game.
We're here to have fun, dog.
Full stop.
All right, guys.
Well, that was fun.
That was a great pod. I hope you enjoyed listening.
Be sure to join our Discord server. The link will be down below in the description. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by following us or subscribing to us on YouTube and all major podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications on YouTube, and leave a review for us on all major podcasting platforms. It goes a long way to supporting us.
Question for the listeners out there, comment down below. What's your secret sauce?
Yeah, what are you teching out right now with your commander of choice?
Yeah, post it in the YouTube or come in our Discord and say what's up. Talk about it in the Brew Buddies.
Yes, sir.
Let's chit chat.
All right. Great app, guys. Great app.
Great app.
Oh, yeah.
Great app.
Chris?
Well, I don't know. We'll see how the audio quality comes out.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be crisp.
Chris, I hope you have a great time in Vegas, my guy.
Dope. I hope you feel better.
Thank
Evan,
you.
a thing to you as well.
And one thing for Evan as well.
Yep.
A thing.
One thing.
Oh.
Well,
One thing.
Chris had a thing. He's going to Vegas.
Oh.
I have a thing. I'm still sick. And then one thing to you as well.
Oh. Yes. Playing football this weekend.
Let's go.
I play football every
Hey,
weekend.
There we go.
But I'm gonna continue my undefeated streak.
Let's freaking go. All right, guys. This is the MoxStar Podcast. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Deuces.